Think about the last person you could not stop thinking about. The one who stayed in your head long after they left the room. I guarantee they were not the one who was always available. You were told the opposite. Show up. Be consistent. Be there for people. Make yourself reliable. Make yourself needed. And if you want someone to stay, give them everything. Make it impossible for them to find a reason to leave. This is not advice. This is a recipe for being taken for granted. You already know exactly what this feels like from the other side. Think about the person who replies instantly every single time, who rearranges their plans around you without hesitation, who is never too busy for you, never unavailable, never hard to reach. Now ask yourself honestly, how much do you actually think about them? How often do they cross your mind when they are not in front of you? How much do you actually want them there versus simply expecting them to be there? There is a difference between being valued and being assumed, and most people who make themselves endlessly available cross that line without ever realizing it. Robert Greene spent decades studying the most powerful, most desired, most influential people in history. Across every culture, every era, every social context, he found the same pattern. The people who commanded the most attention, the most respect, the most desire, were never the most available ones. They were the ones who maintained distance, who appeared only selectively, who made their presence feel like an event because their absence was the default. Scarcity creates desire. Abundance destroys it. It is the same reason a diamond is worth more than water, even though water keeps you alive and a diamond does not. The logic is not rational, it is emotional. And human beings run almost entirely on emotion while telling themselves they are being rational. The moment something is easy to have, the brain stops assigning it value. Not because it has changed, but because availability signals that the object of desire could not find better options. That it is waiting, rather than being waited for. Think about two people. The first gets a message and replies within 30 seconds, every time. Without exception. He is always available, always warm, always ready to adjust his plans. The second has a life. He replies when he can. His schedule is real and full. He is warm when present, but genuinely not always reachable. Not as a strategy, simply because his own life occupies him. The first creates comfort, the second creates curiosity. Comfort is pleasant. Curiosity is addictive, and the brain does not chase what it is comfortable with. It chases what it cannot fully predict. There is always one person in every office who says yes to everything, every task, every request, every favor, always available, always helpful, always there. And there is always someone else who chooses carefully what they give their time to, whose calendar has boundaries, who can say no without apologizing for it, whose presence in a meeting carries weight precisely because it is not guaranteed. Watch who gets promoted. Watch who gets respected. Watch whose opinion changes the room when they finally speak. The person who was always available taught everyone around them exactly what their time was worth. The person who was selectively available made the room assign the value. Machiavelli understood this at the level of statecraft. He wrote that a prince who makes himself too accessible loses the reverence of his people, not their love, not their loyalty, their reverence. The kind of regard that comes not from warmth, but from mystery. The human mind is a prediction machine. It is always calculating, always trying to map the behavior of the people around it. The moment someone becomes fully predictable, fully available, they are fully mapped. And the mind loses interest in what it has already solved. But the person who remains slightly out of reach, who does not always respond, who does not always appear, whose next move is not certain, that person remains unsolved. And unsolved problems occupy the mind far longer than answered ones. Nietzsche wrote that the secret to greatness is not wanting, not needing approval, not requiring the presence of others to feel complete. He called it self-overcoming. The person who has mastered themselves has, almost as a side effect, become irresistible to those who have not. Because what unavailability really communicates, beneath all the psychology, beneath all the strategy, is one thing. I have a life worth living. I have a world that does not pause when you are not in it. I am not waiting for you. And that is the most attractive, the most powerful, the most magnetic thing a human being can communicate without saying a single word. Here is where most people go wrong. They understand this concept, and then they try to fake it. They leave messages unread as a tactic. They manufacture busyness to seem more valuable. They play games. This never works, because people sense performance. They can feel the difference between someone who is genuinely occupied with their own life and someone who is pretending to be. Real unavailability is not a tactic. It is the natural consequence of having something worth being unavailable for. The goal is not to seem hard to reach. The goal is to actually be hard to reach, because your own life is worth it. The people who make themselves the most available are often doing so because they are afraid that if they pull back, if they create distance, the other person will simply not come back, that they are not valuable enough to be pursued. And the painful irony is this: the very behavior designed to keep people close, the constant availability, the endless accommodation, the never saying no, is precisely the behavior that drives them away. The solution is not to become cold, not to become distant for its own sake. The solution is to build something worth being unavailable for, to have a life so full, so directed, so genuinely occupied, that your attention becomes a real thing. Something limited, something that costs something to give, something that the people around you can feel has value precisely because it is not always there. Watch what happens when you stop being the one who is always there. When you stop answering every message within minutes. When you stop rearranging your life around other people's convenience. The people who valued you for your availability will notice you less. And that tells you exactly what they valued. The people who value you for who you are will suddenly want more of your time, not less. Because scarcity made it real. Value and availability move in opposite directions, always, without exception. The most dangerous version of you is not the most generous version, not the most available version, not the version that gives and gives until there is nothing left to give. It is the version that knows its own worth. That gives selectively, that appears when it chooses, and disappears when it does not. Stop being the person everyone expects to be there. Start being the person everyone hopes will show up. The difference is not in how much you give, it is in how rare it feels when you do. This is eternal Nemesis, the truth nobody tells you. Follow, because what comes next will change how you see every single person around you.